Hello and welcome back to another Genshin Impact guide. Today I'll be talking about Fischl Beidou composition, aka Firework, or some other name that you might have heard. A few months ago I made this Firework Childe team composition video. However, that video is not only old, outdated, it also contained a lot of wrong information at the time, so I figured this is the appropriate time to make a updated version of it. Fischl Beidou team composition is a really strong composition revolved around the fact that both Fischl and Beidou have really high damaging ability that are deployable, meaning that they do not have to be on the field to attack to do damage. Combined it with your on-field DPS, this essentially means that you have three characters doing damage at the same time. Your on-field DPS, and then your Fischl Beidou that are in the background. This also means that your buff, such as Bandit Elemental Burst or Zhongli Resistant Down, could potentially benefit three characters at the same time because they're all attacking. For example, in the clip here, you can see that my Bandit Elemental Burst is currently benefiting three party members, Fischl, Beidou who are in the background and attacking, as well as Childe who are on the field and are attacking. So in other words, I have three party members doing damage at the same time, and every single one of them are being boosted by Bennett. Fischl and Beidou, being electric characters, mean that they cannot do transformative reaction like Melt or Vaporize as main DPS character like Diluc or Ganyu can. However, in return, they're gifted with very high base damage, and that's exactly what this comp utilizes. This team have incredible AoE potential and work the best when there are two or more enemy because of the way that the Beidou Elemental Burst work. Depending on who your on-field DPS is, whether it be Childe, whether it be Sucrose, you can have really good AoE damage. However, you can still perform very well in single target environment as well. Constellation is not necessary for this composition, although I would highly recommend having C2 Beidou. This is a ridiculous amount of damage increase on Beidou's Elemental Burst, even though it might not seem like it. However, Constellation on Fischl is not required, although each one of them will improve her damage by a really good amount. The most basic team composition you can get with this team is actually just running Fischl, Beidou, and Barbara, with your Barbara being the Hydro driver. And since two of these characters are free, this comp is rather free to play friendly. If you're lucky and you rolled a few Beidou, you're ready to build this comp already. This comp is ridiculously easy to pilot. Just use your Beidou Elemental Burst off cooldown, summon your Fischl Oz, and just switch back to your driver and just keep on attacking as your driver. I do like to switch out to Beidou and cast a Tricolor every time it is up, even though it might not deflect a attack, simply because it just helps regenerate some electric energy, or help a lot actually. And of course, don't forget to recast your Beidou's Elemental Burst as well as your Fischl Oz every time it comes off, and that's pretty much it. Although one thing to call out is that if you're running buffs such as Bandit, be sure to drop the buff before casting Beidou's and Fischl ability. This is because both of their ability are snapshot ability, so casting a buff after you have already casted will not work. For this team composition, your core member is of course your Fischl and your Beidou, and you'll also want to include a Hydro source or a Hydro driver such as Barbara, Childe, or Xingqiu. And for your last slot, simply puts a utility or flex slot would do. Beidou is gonna be our primary damage dealer in this team comp, so she is the first person you should invest in, such as level, artifact, and your talent. With Fischl being your secondary damage dealer, so everything that after Beidou will go into Fischl. Starting off with building Beidou, your talent leveling order is your Elemental Burst followed by your Elemental Skill. Your normal attack you can just leave at 1 or you can just level it last. For your weapon, Serpent's Spine is a really good weapon. In case that you're not aware, by putting Beidou in your Abyss slot 1, you can pre-stack the bonus by simply waiting before the chambers start. This basically just gives you 36% damage increase and is really strong. Now 5-star weapons such as Wolf Greystone or the Vortex is still gonna be better than the Serpent Spine, so if you have those and you want to put them on Beidou, feel free. However, if you have neither 5-star weapon or Serpent Spine, I actually just recommend you using the prototype weapon. It ends up being better than majority of the other options such as Rain Slasher or even Lithic Blade. Remember that for a Lithic Blade, you can only get up to 2 member bonus because both Beidou and Fischl are not from Liu, and therefore it's just not really worth it in my opinion, unless you have really high refinement such as R5 Lithic Blade. For your artifact, 2 Noblest and 2 Thundering Fury is pretty much the way to go. Now you could also replace either of this set with a Gladiator 2 set as well. For example, I could replace my 2 Noblest with a Gladiator set and this will be completely fine. However, personally, I don't recommend putting this on Beidou because I'd rather save this for Fischl, and I'll describe that a bit later. For your artifact stat, however, do not do Elemental Mastery even though you can proc a lot of electric charge. A traditional DPS stat allocation will simply just be better, so this means that either crit rate or crit damage on your circlet, a elemental type damage bonus on your goblet, so for Beidou this is gonna be Eletro. And then for your hourglass, I recommend doing energy recharge because Beidou have a rather high energy requirement on her elemental burst, so having energy recharge is very excellent unless you already have high energy recharge from somewhere else, for example either substat or you running a Skyward Pry, then you could run a attack hourglass instead. Moving on to Fischl, for your talent, level your elemental skill first and then your elemental burst. For your normal attack, again you can just leave this as level 1 if you don't want to level it. For weapon on Fischl, Stringless or Alley Flash are gonna be your go-to. Use the one with higher refinement, otherwise if they are the same, then just use Alley Flash. If you don't have Stringless or Alley Flash, then the Event Bow Windbloom Odor is a decent choice for your support or sub DPS Fischl as well. For your artifact, your option is either 2 set Thundering Fury, 2 set Gladiator, or alternatively, you can run the 4 set Splendor Reaver, which if I have them level is what I would run instead. Now remember that I told you not to run this on Beidou and instead leave it for your Fischl. The reason is because unlike Beidou, you cannot run 2 set Thundering Fury and 2 set Noblest, so your options are slightly more limiting. Additionally, when you are farming for Thundering Fury, you will also get Thunder Smoother as drop, so it's just easier to farm it this way because then you'll be farming for both characters at once. For your stat, again traditional DPS stat, so crit on circlet, damage type goblet, as well as a attack percent hourglass is good enough. Substat wise, just like every single other character, crit damage, crit rate, attack percent. Moving on to team comp and other character, which I'll just briefly cover so we don't spend too much time. Barber is a really good character because she provides both hydro and healing. So she is all you need in this team composition to get started. For her weapon, I just run a level 1 Dragon Slayer which provide my Beidou or Fischl more damage depending on who I switch to. And for my artifact, I just run the Maiden set which give me more healing. But if you have a really strong Barber, you can consider running the Noblest set which further empower the damage that you get from Beidou and Fischl. Or if you're not really in need of healing, but you don't really have a strong Barber, then the Instructor set, which is right here, the Instructor set is also going to be a really good set. You will be constantly triggering elemental reaction because you'll be doing electric charge on field, and so this is basically just granting free elemental mastery to Fischl and Beidou, which is basically just free damage. Putting Sucrose in and using her as a driver is a further iteration of this composition. There's a lot of benefit of using Sucrose as a driver, but noticeably that she has really good grouping ability, but as well as her being a on-field DPS, mean that you can really easily get the full benefit from the 4 set VV. Her being on field means that you'll constantly be doing swirl damage, so you have a really nice damage bonus from the foresaid 60% swirl damage increase. But additionally, you will always be swirling Electro, or as well as Hydro, because of the way electric charge works. So essentially, you just get a 40% elemental resistance reduction on both the Electro and the Hydro all the time. On-field Sucrose also get better each constellation that you have. Each one of these constellations are really nice, but noticeably that Constellation 4 requires you to do normal attack and charge attack that normally you won't be able to do as support Sucrose. But now, because you're on field doing damage as Sucrose, you actually can wrap this benefit in. Additionally, Constellation 6 will grant you a 20% elemental damage bonus to every party member that have the same element as your elemental burst absorption. And since you're gonna be probably absorbing Electro, this is basically a 20% damage boost for your Beidou and your Fischl, which again is really excellent. If you're looking for a more damagey option and you don't mind going without healing, you can replace the Barber with Xingqiu. Xingqiu's Elemental Burst Rain Cutter is a really good deployable skill that you can use. Not only it applies a lot of Hydro, but it also does a lot of damage. So now you have 4 characters doing damage at the same time, because you have 3 deployable skills in the background, and then you have your on-field Sucrose swirling and providing buff, support, and damage for every single one of your party members. Similarly, Mona could work in this position as well, again providing really good Hydro and buff, such as the damage bonus on her Omen. There is a lot of different ways you can play this team comp, however one more noticeably stronger one is the original Firework Childe, which run Childe, Bennett, and then Fischl and Beidou. Childe himself is not a self-sustainable DPS, and instead majority of the time he acts as an enabler for his party members to do damage while providing really good on-field DPS, and that's precisely what this comp is good at. Fischl and Beidou can utilize the Hydro reaction a lot to proc Thunder Smoother, to proc Electric Charge, to proc all kind of reaction to do more damage, all at the same time, while Childe can provide really good on-field DPS. Bennett is also a really excellent choice as always, providing healing, but more importantly, he can provide Pyro for Childe to do a occasionally vaporized reaction on his elemental burst for a great burst amount of damage. And this is Firework Childe. When playing this comp, aim for a 7-second rotation if possible, unless you are certain that you can finish off in one rotation. A 7-second rotation will ensure that you do not have to wait for Childe cooldown when you switch back to him, as well as this gives you the opportunity to cast a Beidou's Deflect every single 7 seconds for some electric energy. If possible, use Bennett Pyro to supply Childe a vaporized reaction on his elemental burst for a really good amount of burst damage. As a final remark, this comp is not only very fun, but it's also extremely powerful. There's a lot of different ways you can build it, as you have seen before, from a low budget free-to-play version where you can use Sucrose, Barbara, and just put instructor set on them, put a level 1 Dragon Slayer book on them, to a very high damage variance, of course putting in the Childe, putting in the Bennett for a Firework Childe. This comp is so powerful, and it's the reason why they are not currently buffing Electro, because any buff to Electro would mean that this composition is going to be super broken, and that's one of the reasons why they're holding back on it. However, this also means that if Electro does get buffed as rumored in the future, which they kind of need to, then this comp will be so powerful, so powerful. My favorite aspect of this comp is the sheer amount of number, as in quantity, that it can produce. Like, oh my god, can you count how many number are there on the screen? And this is slowed down in 30% speed. Can you count how many number are there on the screen? I feel like there are more number here than when I'm playing Maple Story, but hey, I'm not playing a line class. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoy watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.